When I was a boy, my Uncle Mel, he was a preacher. He would preach around the towns in the area that I grew up. Now, he didn't call them towns, he called them cities. Any place that had a general store, 4 homes, and a farm was a city. So one night, him and his old mule Rosie were going from place to place, preaching the word, when they got caught up in a terrible storm. Lightning was flashing across the sky, thunder sounding like cannon fire, and rain pouring down so hard it turned the road into a river of mud. When suddenly he saw a light. It was a house. So him and Rosie made their way up the road to the house, and Uncle Mel knocked on the screen. After a few minutes, a man opened the door and said, "What are you doing out in weather like this?" My Uncle Mel said to the man, "Well, sir, I'm a preacher, and we got caught up in this horrible storm that came on so fast we didn't have a chance to even find cover. Then we saw your light. Brother, you must help us. This is so bad, Rosie and I can go no further." The man said, "I'd like to help you, but this house is only big enough for me and my wife, and not even that. But do you see that house up the road on the hill? That house belongs to me too, and you'd be welcome to stay there if you'd like." My Uncle Mel said, "If you got a big house right up that road, then why are you living in this tiny little home?" "Well, I'll tell you," the man said. "It's because folks around here say that house is haunted." Uncle Mel said, "Brother, I'm a man of God. I'm not afraid of no haints." The man looked at him and said, "Well, then you are welcome to stay tonight, or as long as you'd like. There's good cord wood, comfortable furniture, candles, matches, and a big fireplace to keep you warm." So Uncle Mel shook the man's hand, thanked him, took Rosie to the barn, and made his way up the road, through the storm, and to the house. When he got on the porch, he opened the door with the key the man had given him, lit a candle, and found his way into a big room where there was a chair and a fireplace. He shook out his coat, hung his hat, and went about starting a fire to warm him up. As soon as that fire was lit, Uncle Mel took a piece of kindling and lit more candles, pulled an old rocking chair over by the fireplace. He stared into that fire for a while, then pulled out his Bible out of his knapsack. He opened it, put his finger in the air, and began to preach like he was in a sermon hall. "Brothers, in the first book, 1st chapter, and 16th verse, it says," and suddenly a small gray kitten made his way down those stairs, walked over to a fireplace, scooped up some ashes from the hearth, washed his paws in them, then walked over to Uncle Mel, sat down next to him facing the fire. My Uncle Mel looked down at that kitten and said, "Well, okay." And he continued on preaching. "In the first book, 1st chapter, 16th verse, it says," and down the stairs came another cat. This time, the size of a bulldog. It was a calico cat. He walked over to the fire, stick his paws in, pulled out some warm ashes, rubbed it all over his face. Then he walked over, sat on the other side of Uncle Mel, looked at the kitten and said, "Well, should we commence on him now?" And that kitten said, "We can't do nothing until Martin gets here." So Mel stood back up, looked at the 2 cats, cleared his throat, and said, "As I was saying, in the first book, 1st chapter, 16th verse," and down the stairs came a 3rd cat. This one was the size of a Newfoundland dog, and the stairs creaked and moaned as this cat lumbered down. Lightning flashed all around the room, giving it an eerie,
supernatural glow.
As the wind howled outside, the cat slowly walked over to the fireplace as the other two cats, frozen like statues, watched him. He walked into the fire to the back of the hearth and walked out the other side with 3 glowing coals in his mouth, which he swallowed, then walked over to the other 2 cats and sat down facing Uncle Mel, and he said, "Well?"
Should we commence on him now?
And the medium-sized cat said, "We can't do nothing until Martin gets here." Which at that, my Uncle Mel stood up, excused himself, went to the door, put on his hat and coat, picked up his satchel, and said, "Well, when Martin gets here, you can tell him I was here, but storm or no storm, I'm gone."
Lord, I went to church one day for to hear them shout, all to hear preacher plow that gospel.